So hey everyone, so what we are doing today is another SULASTIC install, except I've decided to tackle this one myself. My uncle has a 2002 Dodge Ram 1500, and unloaded in the back, this truck rides really rough. It has all that unsprung weight, and it basically gives you just a real rigid ride in the back. Which is interesting because there's other 2002s, if you get them with the V6 or if you get them with a different package, that feel the exact opposite, that have a really smooth car-like ride. And he lives out there in the King Ranch area. He works all the time with his truck. He's always putting stuff in it. He's got a boat that he hauls around with it. And frankly, you know what? I figured that maybe this is something I could do that could make his life a little bit easier when he's driving his truck. So I went ahead and got him a set of SULASTIC springs for the back of his truck. These are going to mount in a little bit different fashion than you saw them on my truck. My truck, the leaf spring is actually above the shackle mount or the leaf spring hanger, so the bracket goes up. On the Ram, the bracket's going to go down. The leaf spring is below the hanger that's on the frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift the back of his truck up using the hitch receiver and my Safejack, which is right here. Once we lift the back of the truck up, we'll put another jack under the differential that will allow us to manipulate the differential up or down with micro adjustments so we can get the bolts out of the factory shackles easy. Anyways, guys, this is what the set looks like. In essence, it's going to mount something like this. So on mine, the bump stop was on the back because it compressed from the back, and on this one it compresses from the front, so the bump stop's right here. And if for some reason the rubber bushing were to ever fail or give out or were to be over compressed, the bump stop would prevent it from just dropping down. So it's a nice fail safe that they put there. So with the Safejack, we're only going to use this longer extension. This is a 6-inch extension plus the frame cradle or axle cradle, whichever you want to call it. It's about 3 inches wide, and we're simply going to jack it up from the receiver hitch right here. So we have the back supported by the Safejack. We have the standard jack underneath the differential, and we've already loosened the top bolt up here. We pretty much have the weight off of it. We tapped it with a little mallet, and it's pretty free to move, so we just now have to pull the bolt out and essentially replace the shackle. So we're going to have to replace this bolt and the bolt on top. So here's the factory shackle removed. This is the SULASTIC. To line up or match the width of this portion, which attaches to the frame like this, you need to add 4 of these washers right here, and then it equals the same width as the factory bushing. This is then going to be inserted up here at the very top to the top of the spring hanger mount, and then we'll slide the spring into the bottom portion and reattach it. Alright, so we finished up the driver's side. As you can see, the SULASTIC's now in place. It's mounted up. Everything's aligned real well. We're going to move on to the passenger side. Be cautious, guys. You do need a really tall jack to get the truck high enough in the air so you can mess with the differential like this. And I'm using 2 extensions and the full length of the bottle jack to get us there right now. I do have another extension in my bag that could go up significantly higher, but this setup seems to be working pretty good right now. So we have both SULASTICs installed. It didn't take really long. The main thing was just determining the right height to be at to get your axle and your leaf springs positioned so you could get the bolts through. This is definitely something you probably want to take it to a shop. I just happen to have some really cool tools like this Safejack that gets me the height I need to raise the back of the truck and then to raise the axle itself. But they're all installed. Everything looks really clean. We're going to take it for a test drive. So we are all done. It looks like the back of the truck is about 1 inch higher than it was. It'll probably settle a bit, especially as it wears in a little bit. However, it was pretty simple. If you look at the step sides, though, they're relatively even. So there's always pretty much a rake with a Ram. You're going to get a little bit of a rake in the back going forward with Ram trucks. So this is the Ram 1500 2002 model with the 4.7 liter Magnum V8. And again, we just put the Sulastics on the back of this thing. I'm real interested to see how it performs now. It had a pretty harsh ride in the back considering it's a half-ton truck, and that's compared to other half-ton Rams that we've actually ridden in. So we really didn't know why, but let's see how this thing works. So we are on the road now, and I'm going to introduce you to my Uncle Frank. Hey, Uncle Frank.
How you doing?
So just to let you know what he does, he has a pretty cool job. He is a conductor for a railroad. He's a conductor on a train. Can you quickly kind of say what you do as a conductor on a train?
Make sure that we transport rail products safely and efficiently.
So how much does a typical fully loaded train weigh?
They vary between, it could be all the way to 14,000 tons.
Okay, so what about the engine?
200,000 pounds, I think.
200,000 pounds?
That's what I think. I'm not sure.
So
I'm not exactly sure right now.
How long you been working for the railroad?
20 years.
20 years. And it's funny because I have another uncle that's been working for how long?
About 34 years.
About 34 years. Anyways, we're about to get on a pretty rough stretch of road here. This is actually one of the roads that I tested the Sulastics out on my F450 after we had them installed. So once we hit this road, we'll see how much better the back end of this truck feels. And by the way, I have literally been begging my uncle to allow me to pull a train with my truck. He wasn't able to make that happen with my 450, and I'm hoping he'll make that happen with my 350. All right, now we've gotten to the rougher part of the road here. So, what's your initial impression?
Much smoother ride on the rear. I don't feel it bouncing around anymore.
You feel the front the same. I mean, the front, of course, isn't modified at all, but the front is usually the smoother part because you have so much weight from the engine on it. The rear end of the truck is where you have all that unsprung weight. Essentially, the springs are fully decompressed, and they're acting more as rigid pieces of metal as opposed to springs. When you put weight in the back is usually when they kick in. That's where the Sulastics come in, is they create that buffer between the unsprung tense spring and the frame of the truck. So it absorbs that shock before it makes it to the frame of your truck. Pretty big improvement, at least in my opinion. Frank, what are you feeling?
I feel like I've got when I would feel this is only when I had weight on the rear. That's when I had the stability. If I had some weight on in the bed of the truck. Today I'm empty, but I feel like I've got weight in the bed of the truck. I feel stable back there.
That's good. Yeah, it does. It feels actually pretty smooth. And this is a pretty horrible road. It's essentially all concrete with dividers every 10, 12 feet. Now we're going to head back. We're going to mount the new cam under the frame so you guys get an idea of how much the Sulastics are actually helping. So guys, we now have the camera recording under the truck so you can see how the Sulastic is actually performing. We're about to hit the main expansion divider here between asphalt and pavement. All right, there. And you can really see how this thing performs on this road. Every time we hit an expansion joint, you can see how much movement there is that's not being transferred to the frame of the truck. Basically, that's being absorbed by the Sulastic as a spring between the leaf spring and the frame. Does a really, really great job. This is essentially exactly how it was working on my F450, where when you have no weight in the back, you tend to have a pretty stiff ride. Now, the interesting thing again about Sulastics, if you didn't follow my first video, is that they only compress about 1.5 inches, so they don't have too much movement to them, but that's not really the point. The point is that it takes the initial jolt out of the bumps and it prevents it from being transferred to the frame, because that's where the majority of those bumps come from, or the majority of the rough ride you feel comes from when you're driving down a road. As you can see, they are doing a very, very good job of taking these big expansion bumps out and really smoothing the ride. Final testimony, would you say it's a good upgrade?
Love it.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thanks, everyone.